Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of 10 for the Chairman. This is the first episode of 2015, so I hope you all had a nice holiday break and fun New Year's Eve, and ready to get back to it. I'm sorry I wasn't here for the first couple of 10 for the Chairmans. I've been pretty busy. I was over in the UK in the first week back. We were doing a big technical summit, so we actually had a lot of really great stuff done. We've just opening a new office in Germany in Frankfurt, and have some really world-class technologists joining us that are really going to sort of help make sure the foundation and long-term technology path for Star Citizen is very, very solid. So I'm actually really excited by that, and it was a really great session. We got all the technical leads from around the various studios working on it, from Behavior, from Ilphonic, from Austin, from LA, from the UK, from Germany, and we had a really productive full week going over all the various things that we need to execute for the engine this year and the stuff further down the future. So it covered everything from the large world stuff that we've talked about, sort of this local physics grid stuff that you need to go in and out of big ships, which we already have working, but we need to make it a sort of more automated, smoother process than it currently does, and just a whole way to sort of re-optimize how we manage shapes and objects, because the big problem in Star Citizen, especially in space, is that there's a lot of sparse data. So you'll have huge areas of space where there's nothing, and then you'll have pockets, there'll be a lot, right, where a spaceship is, and inside a spaceship could be hundreds or thousands of entities, or you buy an asteroid field, there's thousands of entities, but there could be millions of miles of nothingness. And typical game engine structures don't handle that kind of differences in density very well. They tend to be more sort of like an arc tree is a very standard thing that's used in 3D engines, and of course that doesn't work very well when you have sort of the frequency or the sparsity of the data that we do. So so we've got some we've got some really great solutions, and all these sort of things will end up making the rendering faster, and because it will allow us to sort of basically throw away complicated objects sooner, so we don't waste time rendering and then realizing they're not on the camera. And so I think there's some really great stuff came out of it. I'm kind of excited that we've got some world-class people that have joined the team, and we'll be telling you about those down the road. But it was a lot of fun, but because of that, I was in the UK and just non-stop busy, and this week has been pretty crazy busy. I'm actually going out to Austin tomorrow because we're finishing up an environment summit there, where all the artists working on environments have been getting together to make sure that we've got one consistent workflow and practice between all the different studios working on environment. And the first 3 days here, we've had the ship summit, where all the artists from around the various studios working on ships, so that would be the UK, here in LA and in Austin, had gathered to sort of talk again, same thing about workflow, processes, and everything that we're doing, and so again, that was really great. So we tend to try and do these summits at the start of the year to get everyone on the same page and sort of on top of what the work plan is for the year. But this year is going to be exciting because we've got so many different things that are going to be rolling out. From the first-person shooter tied to the first sort of instances of the persistent universe, to ultimately the multi-crew ships, which we were talking about in our ship stuff, and we were talking about our technical stuff, to also the Squadron 42, which will be towards the end of the year. So that was all good, but you probably want me to answer some questions. I think before I do that, I had a few little presents that were sent this way. So this was some Earl Grey tea. I guess maybe I look like my throat's a bit scratchy, or in the cold of winter I need some nice hot tea. Thank you, Wolf, for that. And I got these rather nice little badges here. As we can see, that wasn't from Wolf. I think that was from Anset and Sayaloni, if I said it right. So thank you guys very much. And there you go. So let's get to the questions. We've just one thing before I start answering these questions is that we had a lot of new subscribers join over the Christmas. I think we had quite a few new people join for Arena Commander 1.0, which, considering we sort of got it out just before Christmas and maybe didn't have all the time we had, turned out, I think, pretty well. We've been working on some changes. We'll be delivering a new build to you guys this week, but it should hopefully address things like some of the fact that the missiles ended up getting overpowered, and that was partly because we were doing some signature and missile balancing in the last minute, and some of the features weren't working fully, so we didn't really have the time to fully balance it with the full test load we want. And so now we've been doing things. We've fixed some bugs in terms of how countermeasures weren't actually distracting the missile. Like, it would distract the missile for a second and then it would reacquire you. So there's a whole bunch of things that I think will make missiles back to being more fun and useful in the new patch that you guys will get this week, and some other fixes and bug fixes and balance fixes. So I think the new drop that you'll have this week will be good, and there's a few new items that will come with it, so that'll be fun. But anyway, we had, back to the original point, we had these new folks joining us, and so we have a bunch of new subscribers, and I think Ben and James felt like they wanted some of the new subscribers to be able to ask some questions. So they're asking questions, but for the old, veteran subscribers that have been us from the beginning, I know I occasionally see in the forums that you guys get upset occasionally when the same question's been asked more than once, and I do recognize that, and I think James and Ben do, because they're the ones that actually pull these lists. It's not, I don't actually pull them, they just put a list in front of me and I answer the 10 questions. But I think they sort of felt like they wanted to get some questions from some of the newer guys. So if a few of these have been asked before, I guess I'm pre-apologizing for that, because in that context. All right, so the very first question is asked by Bearing, who asks, will there be medals and rank in Squadron 42? After we complete the campaign, will we be able to frame all the medals, badges, final rank, and anything else we earn and display it in our hangar or home? So yes, the answer is definitely yes on that one. I think this is obviously a question that's been asked in the past more than once, and you'll be able to frame them. It goes along. I mean, that was the case in the original Wing Commander, and it's definitely something that we would 100% be doing in Squadron 42, and it's also kind of goes with the sort of sense of, like, rather than having those kind of achievements you get in Xbox or Steam, it's much better to sort of have an in-game, in-fiction sort of reward, and so you would definitely have a sort of medal display case for everything you've earned in your campaign. And again, like we said in the big persistent universe, we're definitely going to have sort of mementos you can get from various planets you can visit, much like you do in the real world now, where you get snow globes from different places. So if you go and visit, and you can keep those at home to show, oh, I've been to Vancouver or something like that. So so that's kind of that's the whole point of having some of the fun stuff we put in the hangar itself, and so we'll definitely do that. One little wrinkle in here that I'll bring out, which isn't really answering the question, but it'll just goes to show you some of the things we're thinking about, because we sort of anticipate that you will be potentially playing Squadron 42 or playing a campaign related back in Squadron 42 times, while also maybe also wanting to play around in the persistent universe. We're going to, I think we're sort of toying with the idea of having sort of almost a campaign diary, so you could be playing in the persistent universe, and the idea would have been like, well, you've already mustered out of the military, but if we haven't finished the story yet, we haven't necessarily got all our medals yet, we haven't filled in all our different events, and so actually your diary would sort of fill in as you were playing Squadron 42, but you could also be playing in the persistent universe sort of in a later version of yourself, and then as you earn stuff in Squadron 42, it would maybe unlock things that you would see in the persistent universe, and that would be a way that we would solve the issue of not having to wait till you finish the full sort of storyline in Squadron 42 before you can play the persistent universe. So there you go. There's a little bit of tidbit that wasn't in the question, but I think you guys may think would be interesting to know. Next question comes from Void Stalker, who asks, can you tell us a little bit how you envision the artistic look and feel of moving through a jump point? We have seen everything from light field tunnels that you surf a la Wing Commander movie, Stargate or Freelancer, to streaking stars in Star Wars and Star Trek. Do you plan something visually along those lines, or do you have a unique artistic twist up your sleeve that you don't mind sharing with us? Well, we're actually, right now sort of in an early look dev period for the sort of jump point wormhole travel. So we have two basic kinds of, I guess, whatever you want to call it, fast travel equivalents in the game. One is, going through a jump point, which is really a fold in space. And the second is, quantum travel, which is sort of the sort of in-system fast travel where, your ship goes into basically one of the reasons, like one of the ways to think about it is one of the reasons to think that the engines tend to be fairly big on the back of the ships, even though the various thrusters can sort of apply more thrust in those engines, is that really the primary function of your main engine on the ship, it does aid in thrust, but its primary function is for quantum drive, and that's to get you up to 0.2 or slightly more than that speed of light in a very short period of time, and then also the ability to allow you to decelerate quickly. And so you can only do quantum drive in a straight line, and we got a really pretty cool mechanic that we're thinking about that will have a little bit of skill base, and will also allow you to sort of engage in quantum travel to escape an engagement if you want. And you could even do it in the middle of the engagement, but you basically have to sort of align yourself to the point of travel and also sort of be in this line of direction for a certain time and certain distance before it engages, because the engine's powering up, the quantum drive sort of creating the gravitational field that will allow you to accelerate that quickly in such a short period of time. And of course, anything during that, you're vulnerable because you're not dodging or weaving or anything, and you've got to draw a lot of power to your quantum drive, so it couldn't leave you exposed where people could be shooting you, or anyone that gets in front of you would basically break your quantum drive. So it's kind of cool. It would be a cool way you could, maybe if someone's not paying attention to you, you could jump out in the middle of a battle, but if someone comes and tries to stop you from doing it, they could quite easily. And it's so that's our sort of in-system autopilot, I guess, or fast travel. And then there is the jump point transitions, which is you're going to navigate through a jump point, and it's basically a fold in time and space, and you're going to come out somewhere else in the galaxy. And we're sort of playing with that. I mean, the original concept that I've always talked about is sort of kind of the idea of sort of surfing this huge breaking wave like on the North Shore of Hawaii. But we're sort of feeling like it's almost going to be sort of it's time and space spent around itself, and almost like moving parts of it and tunnels and holes, and you sort of have to navigate the right way through it, and as things are moving it sort of makes it slightly challenging. And anyway, so it should require a certain amount of skill to navigate it if you're navigating it for the first time. And one other thing that we're also thinking could be kind of interesting is that because these things move and do over time, is like the navigation data gets stale. So if you could chart the navigation point and sell the navigation point, and it may be good for a little while, but it's it wouldn't be good forever, and then at some point it's sort of slightly become out of sync, and someone has to fly it again to make sure it's back in sync for other people to auto do it. And there perhaps could be some jump points that are always unstable and they're always changing, and those ones you always have to navigate yourself. You can't actually auto navigate it. So that would allow us, and we could have ones with different sort of sizes of kind of, wormhole tunnels or whatever, that so some could support bigger ships, some could support smaller ships, and so there literally could be a really unstable wormhole or jump point that you really could only take a very fast maneuverable ship that's jump capable through, but maybe it gets you to a place that all the other ones can't get to, or it gives you a shortcut or whatever. So they're necessarily like, for instance, like info runner, that would be why you'd have a small fast ship versus a big slow well armored ship kind of thing. So anyway, pretty interesting, but that's what we're thinking of. Okay, next question comes from Admiral, who asks, can you tell us more about how you see the role of capital ships in the game? Do you see them as viable exploration, mining, or trading vessels, suitable for diverse uses, or will they be strictly combat oriented? Well, I sort of think that it would depend on how you want to use the capital ship. I mean, obviously, sort of the more military, focused sort of capital ships generally would be obviously very good in combat. But I definitely think that you would, some of them have cargo holds, so you definitely could use trading. Obviously, exploration is possible because they're built to survive out in space for a very long time, and they're also pretty well armored. So if you come across someone that you don't know about, or discover someone, or someone tries to attack you because they don't like you in your area of space, you can defend yourself. So I definitely think you would be able to use them for more than just combat, and there would be sort of a great base, because you also could land, in the bigger ones you can land smaller ships that do different things. Mining, a bit more difficult, but if you have a small mining ship that on board it, and you can take your big capital ship and take off with your mining ship and do some mining, that's definitely possible. And you never know, kind of sort of the add-ons will do, because obviously there is a lot of sort of modular building for the bigger ships, and there's different sort of items that you can, like a turret's an item or radar's an item. But you could have a mining laser, and maybe a processing plant could be sort of different modular elements, and maybe you could retrofit an Idris or something to do mining. I mean, I'm not saying that we're doing that, but I'm saying that the modular system would enable us to be doing that sort of down the road. So those are kind of the sort of flexibility and things that we are long-term building in for the ships, and on some of them. So the Retaliator that we're working on right now is sort of it looks amazing, by the way, and it's going to be our sort of first multi-crew prototype ship in the multi-crew sort of Arena Commander 2.0 level that we're sort of prototyping. And that has modular elements that can be switched out in the longer term. I mean, right now it's just one set, but it's been built in such a way that you could maybe get rid of one of the torpedo rooms and change it to extra living quarters or cargo or something like that. So I think that you would be able to use some of the bigger capital ships for more than just combat if you wanted to. But of course, they're obviously very good at combat. And then it would depend on sort of the various items you could buy to sort of modify it for the needs you would need. So exploration, trading would be easier than something like mining, but I wouldn't rule out something like mining. Okay, next question comes from Onslaught Delete. When is the line drawn in legalities inside the verse when it comes to theft versus reclaiming? Will this depend on when players eject? I don't know. That is a good question in terms of like when you're marked to be someone that's stolen a ship versus someone that's just sort of found a abandoned ship and reclaimed it. I don't know. I mean, I think the way that we would sort of try to handle it would be to, obviously if you did something like you shot them up so they ejected, then yes, I think then you go and take the ship. That probably would be counted as of thieving it. If you were sort of allied to a group that shot up the ship that had the guy eject and took it, then I think that would be counted as thieving it. But if you're a non-interested party and you came across an abandoned ship and there was no pilot and there was no survivor and you weren't witness to what happened, and then you went and reclaimed it, then I think potentially that would be something that would be a valid reclaim. But it all sort of depends. I mean, there'll be lots of little edge cases, so we haven't really worked out the rules for this one way or the other way yet, but we would try obviously to make it fair, and if it isn't fair then we'd adjust it. As you can see, we've already we tweak things in Arena Commander based on we try something, it doesn't quite work, then we fix it one way, and then we do more adjustments and stuff like that. So that's my sort of not particularly specific answer for you. Next question comes from Shepherd22, who asks, can you please go in depth about the Persistent Universe trading system? Will you make profit without ever leaving your ship, or will it be more complex where you have to unload your cargo and take it to shops trying to sell it? When you land on planets, a lot of the sort of unloading and managing your cargo is all done via manifest and through the local commodities brokers. So you're not necessarily going to have to like personally unload every crate and take it around to shops and see if they want to buy it. Now there will be some kind of special style cargo, contraband, whatever, smuggled diamonds or some stuff that maybe you can't just sell on the open market. So you have to go and then you got to go down a back alley and find the buyer for that particular item. And then they pay you versus just going for the straight, the straight sort of vanilla commodities broker. And there will definitely be some cases so most of the time, it will be handled in the background by, the port and the loading crew or that will, sort of offload and do stuff, and you'll just say, here, I've got this in my manifest, and you'll go into commodities broker and you'll negotiate price for the stuff you sell, and then they'll buy it and then it'll be offloaded out of your cargo. But there will definitely be some also cases where there'll be some places where you land and there isn't the big infrastructure, there isn't the trading place, and maybe you have to put some of the cargo in your hold into one of your rovers and drive the rover a couple of kilometers to a trading outpost and sell it. So we'll definitely, or deliver supplies to some explorer out in a base camp somewhere. So we'll definitely have some of those that will be sort of a bit more sort of physics-based, kind of take the cargo, load it up, drive it, deliver it somewhere kind of things. But most of the trading stuff will be done sort of more in a more kind of like higher level way, which is kind of the way it would sort of happen in real life too, but you'd have sort of the flavor of both without sort of having to always unload it yourself, which would get very sort of boring and frustrating. Okay, next question comes from Captain Darkstar, who asks, are there any plans to have our ship sensors sync to our Mobi-Glass? This would allow us to periodically check up to our exterior surroundings while we're exploring interior area and make sure we're not left stranded. Yeah, no, I think we would definitely still have your ship computer link potentially to your visor in your suit or Mobi-Glass. Probably not all the full functionality, but you'd have some of it. You'd also be able to pull up sort of the nav map and sort of look at charts you could call, different courses you could chart, not charts you could course, on that before like doing the final entry on your nav computer back on your ship. So you definitely would probably have, perhaps you could have an alarm on your ship that would sort of warn if someone boarded it while you're off exploring a derelict wreck. So there's some cool stuff. In fact, actually today I was just looking at, we have a sort of a prototype of sort of the depressurizing your cockpit, opening, EVAing out it to a derelict ship, EVA opening up inside it, going inside, like seeing what happened, getting on the ship's log, and then meanwhile a Vandal attack happens, and you've got to rush back to your ship before it happens, before your other ship gets blown out of the sky, and it was super cool. And those are kind of some of the sort of things that will start to be fleshing in. I mean, Arena Command is actually meant to be sort of the test bed for a lot of stuff that's going to be in the persistent universe or even in Squadron 42. So, we're going to start to, down the road here, add some more sort of scenario-like missions like that that can be co-op or single player to sort of flesh out sort of some of the styles of encounters and missions and sort of work on balancing and making them cool in Arena Commander before they'll sort of be utilized in the persistent universe, and they'll be pretty cool. So I think you guys, that's part of our roadmap and what we want to do with Arena Commander post 1.0 along the way to 2.0. Okay, next question comes from Marius, who asks, will there be tiered factions, governmental organizations, and career opportunities within them? Yes, I mean, definitely. I mean, so we have our organizations, and basically the governmental organizations are really just sort of NPC versions of what we have for players, and we're going to be adding more functionality to organizations. You already have sort of kind of a rank system that you can have in them, but also the ability to sort of manage resources, pay people, collect fees, all those things will be sort of ultimately built into them, and the UEE or the Merchants Guild or the Bounty Hunter Guild, they will all be sort of built in the same organizational framework that players can build their own organizations in and have the same sort of tools. And they will offer jobs, and you can only maybe take a bounty hunter mission if you're a member of that guild, and that guild will be allied with certain other guilds. And a bounty hunter may not accept you if you're from sort of a diametrically opposed guild. I mean, not that there's a pirates guild, but whatever. If there was a pirates guild, then you probably wouldn't want to have someone in your bounty hunter guild that is also part of the pirates guild. So we will have all those things, career opportunities and all the rest. There you go. Next question comes from Blake the Pattern, who asks, with there being other alien races, does that mean that there will be other currencies with a need for currency exchange offices? Well, I definitely think that different races potentially would have different currencies. And there would probably be a currency exchange between, UEC and whatever the Banu have or whatever the Zhan have. But I think we'd probably at the moment sort of handle it as just sort of a exchange rate, which would be like, the Banu would be like, okay, well, this is, 1,000 of my monetary units, but for you it's 2,500 UEC, so pay me 2,500 UEC, and then we're all good. I think at the early stage, that's kind of how we would handle it versus sort of maintaining 3 or 4 sets of different currencies you can have in your pocket at any one time. But longer term, who knows what we will do on that. Okay, next question comes from Positronic Reflex, who asks, will rovers have limitations on the area they can explore due to factors such as power, fuel drains, or map barriers? Also, will they be able to be destroyed? Okay, so yes, there will be limits on the areas that you can explore with the rover. Power obviously would be one that would help. The amount of fuel you'd have would be another one. And the most important one will be map barriers, because obviously, in the current system, we don't have an infinite map. We don't have a map that covers the whole surface of the planet you landed on. We have a map that would probably cover, I don't know, 16 square kilometers or 20 square kilometers. Or 30 square kilometers, depending on how ambitious we get on our little map areas. And so obviously, I don't know whether we'd put mountain ranges or things that would block you, but probably from being able to carry on too far for your rover, that would be one of the big barriers we would do. And of course, they'll be, they're a vehicle just like a spaceship is, so they have all the same functionality in terms of damage modeling and all the rest of the stuff. So yes, they definitely can be destroyed. All right, next question comes from Talon Karade, who asks, as stated previously, when you lose a larger or rarer ship, it may take longer for a new one to arrive in your hangar. Will we have the ability to pay UEC to fast track our ship's manufacturing and receive it sooner? I don't know. That is a good question. We haven't thought about that right now. We just sort of thought that the replenishment of your ship depends on supply and demand. So obviously, if you've got a pretty common ship and there's a lot of them around, then pretty much it's instantaneously. But if you have a very rare ship that is only manufactured by a certain shipyard and takes quite a bit of time to make each one, like a big capital ship, then that would actually take a bit longer, because you'd have to wait for the next ship that's been manufactured to be ready for you. Well, we haven't really thought about paying extra money to fast track it, so I think it's too early in the day to sort of look at that, because to see on what's frustrating and what's not frustrating for people, because you obviously don't want them to hang around forever waiting for a ship, but you do want some penalty if you've lost a big ship, especially it should be realistic, right? You can't just constantly replace battleships because they take some time to get built. There you go. All right, that's the end of my first 10 for the Chairman in 2015. I hope you found my answers interesting, and maybe some of the information I gave earlier on the various summits we're doing. I'd like to thank all the subscribers out there for enabling us to be able to do this. The subscribers are the subset of our backers that put in extra money every month, and they allow us to do enhanced community content. So the 10 for the Chairman, or the 10 for the producers, or the 10 for the writers that we do, Around the Verse, which we do every week. Also Jump Point, which is sort of in-depth, very behind-the-scenes magazine, 50 to 70 pages. Plus, we also do some flair items for subscribers in their hangars, to basically say thank you for allowing us to do this enhanced community content, because at the end of the day, I think that's one of the secrets of the success of how we've been so far, is that we really, it's important to us. It's built into the DNA of the company, and just the level of interaction that we get to do with everybody that is backing Star Citizen and likes these kind of games, I think makes it special, and it's cool, and a lot of the additional stuff we're doing is thanks to the subscribers. So thank you, and then thank you to everyone that's backed the game out there, because we wouldn't be getting to make the game at this level of ambition and scope with everybody's backing. We're almost at $70 million now, which is amazing. Thank you all. We're using every cent of that, like I promised in the past, to double down and make this game as big and badass as possible. I would like to welcome all the new people that have joined in the last month or so since I've actually done one of these, because I think we've had a significant amount of people sort of join up around about 1.0. So welcome aboard. It's going to be a great ride, and hopefully you're going to enjoy it as we finish it out and carry on building more features. So I will see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching 10 for the Chairman. If you guys would like to see more episodes, go here. If you guys would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel and always keep up to date with all our video content, go here. And if you guys would like to watch episodes of Around the Verse, go here please. And I will see you in the verse.